Hello friends, it's Mal with Made by Manny and Mal. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing a super fun summer can Kewlzie. So in my last video, I showed you how to do a vinyl half wrap horizontally. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do a half wrap, but vertically. So this turned out really cool. It's a super fun design and I really hope you love the tutorial. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for new videos every Tuesday and Saturday. And as always, if you have any questions or anything, please leave a comment down below. I'm really active down in that comment section. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Everything I use will be linked in the description box below, along with our social media, some discount codes, and all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, let's go. We're using a 16-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia for this design, and what's cool about these cups is that you can use the regular lid, the HydroFit lid, and the Slim Can Kewlzie lid on this tumbler and make the cup really whatever you want. So we're using the 16-ounce plump with the Slim Can Kewlzie lid. I've already taped off half of my tumbler using electrical tape, and now I'm cutting down my pattern vinyl to fit. I'm just going to double check and make sure that I cut it down to the right size. And once I know that I've cut it correctly, I'm going to lift up this side tape and cut it off and make sure that I leave that bottom tape there so I know where my vinyl needs to start and end. I pulled the sides of the tape up because I don't want to risk ruining the vinyl that I just laid down when I try to remove the tape later. So I'm just using the bottom tape as a guide, and now I'm going to apply my vinyl the same way I normally would. I anchored down one edge of the vinyl and now I'm smoothing it onto my tumbler, removing the backing in the process. Once my vinyl is applied, I'm going to go around with my X-Acto knife and just check for any bubbles. If I do see any bubbles, I'm going to poke a tiny little hole in the bubble and smooth it out, and you will never even know that there were bubbles in the first place. After I pop my bubbles, I'm going to take the vinyl and smooth it up over that top rim, really pull it tight and make sure we don't have any lifting or bubbles up there. And then I'm taking my knife the same way I always do, and I'm trimming right along that top rim. And then I'll take my knife again at about a 45-degree angle and trim off any excess that might still be lingering up over that rim. I'm going to take a piece of orange tape and line it up with the tape on the bottom of my cup, which had our half and half measurements laid out, because I cut a little bit extra vinyl and I want to trim that off so that we have a really even 50-50 split for our vinyl and our glitter. So I'm just taking that piece of tape, lining it up with the bottom tape that we have, and then I'm just going to run my knife along that tape edge and pull up that extra vinyl so we for real have a true 50-50 split. Then I'm going to remove that tape on the bottom and pull up my vinyl over the bottom rim of the cup. This is the same way I always do it as well. I'm pulling this really tight and making sure that I get it as flat and as smooth as possible on that outer rim. The middle bunching doesn't matter because we're going to trim that off anyway. So just making sure that it's smooth. And the Steel Magnolia cups, just like the 24-ounce plumps, they all have this ridge at the bottom that is really good for using as a guide for cutting off any excess. So I just stick my knife in that ridge and follow it all the way around the curve of the cup. And then once I pull up that extra vinyl, we've got a perfect seam with our vinyl. I'm just going to take my fingernail and make sure that it's all smooth and in there and that we're not going to get any lifting, because that's really annoying to have to sand down after you've epoxied and everything. So here's our half wrap. I'm going to take off that piece of tape. I put a piece of tape on the side I'm not working with so I don't get confused. I'm taking some blue painter's tape and I'm taping off the vinyl wrap that we just did because we're going to paint the other side and glitter it. So I'm just taking any regular blue painter's tape and I'm putting it down onto my parchment paper and kind of touching it with my fingers to get a little bit of that stickiness off. I don't want to risk the adhesive of the tape pulling off any of the prettiness of the vinyl. So then I'm folding over one edge of the tape And I'm just going to apply it right on that edge of our vinyl and then wrap it around and do the same on the other side. And then I'm taking just a couple more pieces of tape to make sure that our vinyl is completely covered. And we're going to paint it now with coral and gold metallic, both from Rustoleum. And we're going to do an ombre, starting with the gold at the bottom and then moving up into our coral. So here's what we've got. Our paint is ready. I'm gonna let this dry about 40 minutes and then I'm going to apply a very thin layer of epoxy, like literally one little finger dip, make it as smooth and as thin as possible. The two glitters we're using are Watermelon Sugar and Queen Bee, both from PDB Creative Studio. These are both relatively new colors and they are so pretty. So I'm taking Watermelon Sugar first and I'm just lightly sprinkling that around the top rim of our cup. Since we're only doing a 2-color ombre, we're not doing a lot of dimension or building. We're really just gonna go back and forth with these 2 colors to make sure that we get a really solid blend and that everything flows really nicely. So I'm taking Queen Bee and covering the bottom edge, and then I'm holding my cup at an angle to get that Queen Bee to kind of start moving up the cup into our coral, still going really, really, really light. I'm holding my shaker like 8 inches away from the surface of my cup. So once I've got that down, I'm gonna go back in with Watermelon Sugar, cover that rim again. As you can see, I've taken the lid off, so we're really letting this go now. We're not using the shaker. We can really let the glitter get on there, you know what I mean? So I'm covering that top rim again, and then going back in with Queen Bee, holding my cup at a slightly sharper angle to really get that Queen Bee going up into the Watermelon Sugar. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with Watermelon Sugar, holding my cup at a steeper angle to make sure that we can get some of that Watermelon Sugar migrating down into the Queen Bee. So I'm just going to alternate between colors until I get to a point where I have a fade or a blend that I'm happy with, and then we will move on to the next step. Once I'm all done glittering, I'm going to remove our tape so that our epoxy doesn't cure on the tape, and we don't want that tape sitting on our vinyl too long anyway. So here's what we've got so far. I'm going to let this epoxy sit for a few hours, and then I'm going to spray it with 2 coats of Rustoleum clear gloss spray to seal in our glitter, and then we're going to go in with our epoxy. I'm using a little extra ink epoxy, and I'm going to seal the vinyl portion of our cup first. So I kind of wait a few rotations to make sure that I can get that part covered before I start epoxying the glitter, because I don't want any of that glitter to migrate into our serape section. So once I've done 2 coats of epoxy, I'm going to do all my sanding. I sanded the edges of our cup really, really well, and the sides where the glitter and the vinyl meet, because we're going to add some vinyl stripes, and I want that to be as smooth as possible so that you can't see any bumps or anything in that area. So I'm taking salmon pink gloss vinyl from Platinum Craft Vinyl. I will have the link for this in the description box below, as well as a discount code for you. This is beautiful glossy vinyl, and I really like the color selection they have. So I'm just applying a really thin stripe to that seam, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I cut these stripes at 11.5 inches long, which is very long, and about 0.1 inches wide. So these are very thin stripes and they're super long. Next, I'm going to apply our little cactus image, and this is printable vinyl that I cut out by hand. I always do this because I would just rather cut it out by hand than have to worry about my print and cut working. And especially with distressed images like this, I feel like print and cut wants to cut out every little thing, and it always just ruins my image. So I'm just cutting it out by hand and leaving those distressed parts in there so we still get a kind of rustic picture. I'm going to make sure that my image is straight, and then I'm going to peel back a little corner of our vinyl to anchor it down and help us apply to make sure that we get this straight and exactly where we want it to go. So I'm going to press down that corner and then pull back the backing and gently smooth our vinyl on. You want to be really careful when you do this, because this printable vinyl in particular, the matte version, is really fragile and flimsy and will tear literally without you doing anything to it. So just be really careful if you're using this same vinyl. This is the matte version, and I recently tried the glossy version. it's amazing. So I would recommend the glossy version over the matte for sure. I'm going to seal all of our vinyl with a thin coat of epoxy. I think I used about 10 to 15 milliliters. I didn't use quick coat or anything beforehand, just went straight into the epoxy. Once that coat cured, I was ready to take care of the bottom. So I'm going to take my electrical tape as always and tape off the bottom edge of our cup. And there were a couple places that when I sanded, like right there, I sanded off the vinyl color. So I want to make sure that I'm leaving that open with my tape so I can cover that up with spray paint. We don't have some white spots in our vinyl. I'm taking the same coral paint we used for the base of our glitter and just covering the bottom of the cup. We're not going to glitter the bottom or anything, we're just going to leave it solid painted. So once we've got the paint on there, we can remove our saran wrap and our tape, and we're going to let that paint dry about an hour before we apply our decal to the serape side. I got this SVG from Creative Fabrica. I will have it linked in the description, and I just created an offset in Silhouette Studio, and I'm using coral and gold just like with our glitter colors. So I'm going to layer them before we apply the decal to the cup, and I'm going to use the hinge method the same way I always do, making sure that I have this as centered as possible and then apply it to my cup. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to go right into my final coats of epoxy. I did not seal this, I just went right in with epoxy. I did about 20 milliliters of a little extra and hit it with my torch to pop any bubbles. I got a new like big girl torch and it is amazing. I feel like my cups are like next level now. So once this final coat cured, we were all done. This was so much fun to make, and this design is perfect for summer. These Kewlzies are absolutely awesome and I am so obsessed with them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you are not already. We post new videos every Tuesday and Saturday. All of our social media is linked in the description, as well as all the products that I used in this video. So please be sure to check that out, and we will see you in our next one. Okay, love you, bye.